Yeah, music is super important to everything I do in my life, or I feel like it's where I go when I want to emotionally unpack myself or uh, express something about myself. I've tried to have periods in my life where, like, okay, I'm going to see what happens if I don't do any music, and I find myself very unhappy.
My guest on the show today is Daniel Michalack of the bands Bombadil and Z Pocket. I first met Daniel in what must have been something like 2007 or 2008, which would have been the first time that I saw Bombadil at a now extinct barbecue restaurant placed weirdly off of Capitol Boulevard just before you get into downtown Raleigh. Their charm, their chops, their outfits, their whimsical yet anchored music, comprised of folk, rock, and pop elements, won me over almost immediately. They released some amazing albums, gained some momentum, faced some setbacks, persevered, and released more phenomenal albums, including one produced by Season 1 guest John Vanderslice called Fences. Bombadil is one of those key bands in that vibrant scene of the late 2000s that I've mentioned a lot over the course of this season, which is one of many reasons I wanted to talk with Daniel. Another reason is because I wanted his perspective on this season's prompt, as he recently relocated from North Carolina to France, thusly turning Bombadil into a transatlantic music project. Daniel also releases music as Z Pocket and put out a lovely album titled Music for a New World in February of this year. I'll play a track from that record later on in the show, but first, let's make a mixtape. Daniel, thank you so much for joining me on this season of Let's Make a Mixtape. We are, of course, talking about songs that remind us of home, and you selected Esther Marisol's Morir Cantando. Why did you pick this song, and why does it remind you of home?
That's a good question. It's just one of my favorite songs. When anybody asks me for a song, this is the one I give them. I live in France now, but before I lived in France, the country I had spent the most time in away from home was Bolivia. So when I left Bolivia, I guess it always feels like a second home. I had spent long enough time there where I felt like I had roots and people friendships I had developed, and just a love for the place. And so this is a Bolivian singer from the 70s, and I feel like this music encapsulates Bolivia and everything I love about it. And so that's why I chose this song. And I love the title. I want to die singing. I think it's a great title. So being a musician, that rings true with me.
Oh, thank you for that translation. I want to die singing. That is so you studied abroad in Bolivia. What brought you to Bolivia? What made you want to?
Exactly. The university I was studying at had a program. I wanted to do Spanish. It was my kind of my minor, and I wanted to go abroad, but never had been outside the country, and really wanted to live, as far away as possible. And I originally was going to go to Spain, and there was a terrorist bombing of the metro station in Madrid that summer. My parents said you can't go to Spain, so ended up going to South America, Bolivia. I don't even think I realized that Bolivia was in South America necessarily at the time. So just random, as how all good things in life work out.
So it sounds like you have a profound relationship now with Bolivia. What was it that? I mean, you went there kind of randomly, but what was it about Bolivia that really stuck with you and
You
had
know,
that impact?
I think every country is special, so there's nothing special about Bolivia. I could have had this experience. Any person can have this experience anywhere. It's more the apocryphal. No, what is the word? I'm just no life step where you finally leave your home nest and go somewhere else for the first time and become you where you're not you, where someplace where no one knows you, and you can finally, I don't know, break free of childhood chains, or just be yourself with nobody else has any preconceived notion of who you were before. But things that are awesome about Bolivia, I mean, I love Spanish, so it's like you can speak Spanish there. One in some mountain countries in the Andes, so there's just mountains everywhere. But the city is the highest capital city in the world, so the climate's super weird. It's arid, but also it never rains, and so it should be hot, but it's kind of cool. It's like always in the 60s or 70s. it's also, even though it does have a huge colonial baggage with Spain, there is still a super strong indigenous culture. So a lot of people speak two or three languages besides Spanish. Often at home, people speak either Aymara or Quechua, which are two indigenous languages. The food there is super weird. It's nothing like Central or Mexican food, Central American or Mexican food. It's not really spicy. It's like they eat more kind of like dried llama meat and like frozen potatoes. Uh, not yeah, or not frozen potatoes, but potatoes they kind of let rot in the ground for a long time. Because South America is really where the potato is from, so there's a lot more variety of potatoes. There's like these kind of black potatoes they eat. And, uh, anyway, I'm a foodie, so I like all the weird food down there. And also the music was really awesome. I just like the music in Bolivia. It uses a charango, which is a 12-string instrument, kind of like a mandolin, but much awesomer. There's the pan flute. There's also the pan pipes, but then there's also this long flute that's called the quena, I think. It's been a long time since I've been there, but just amazing. Uh, and then I love this female vocalist. Maybe I just feel like I heard a lot more female vocalists down there. The drums are super cool. They use these kind of like big drums. Yeah, it's this kind of weird mix between marching drums, Spanish music, and also indigenous melodies. That's super appealing to me.
Did that really open up a lot of inspiration for you personally, musically?
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, we always say that was a starting point for Bombadil because Brian was also down there with me at the time. Although I don't feel like Bombadil music sounds anything like Bolivian music, but we really dug it at the time, and still do. Yeah, still yeah, it has a special place in my heart.
Esther, Marisol was brand new to me, and I very much enjoyed checking that track out. So tying it back to home. So how do you define home?
Good question. Yeah, I took home, I guess, when you asked the question, just as like a place I've lived a long time. Because I think home can, of course, mean many things. Where you're born, where your family is, where you've lived the longest, or where you maybe just feel the safest or most at ease. And so I don't consider Bolivia home. I think if I would go back there, it's not like anybody knows me or cares that I would be there. Uh, So yeah, I think just a place that maybe you enjoy being would be home, and a place that feels good or has strong positive memories. And so Bolivia has all those things, and this song reminds me of those good memories.
Wonderful. And so you mentioned that you're living in France now. What has that been like? I mean, you've lived in North Carolina for a good amount of your life, correct? And then
That's
now
right.
you're in France. What has that transition been like for you?
It, no, the transition was many things. That's right. I lived in kind of my whole life until moving to France, except for this small stint in Bolivia. Um, And I don't. I think I always dreamed of living abroad, so it was like a dream come true. My wife is French, and so the transition was done slowly. Every year we would come back at some point to see her family for the holidays, and so I feel I had a good grasp of the country before finally making the jump, which was kind of right before COVID. We finally moved. COVID was maybe a weird time to move because everything. It's not like I could really experience France. Everybody was kind of locked inside. All the restaurants, stores were closed, can't work or do anything. So my first couple years in France were just inside my in-laws' house. But I don't know. I feel like France or Europe is kind of a dream for maybe not all Americans, but for some. I love it. I love the climate. I love the culture. I love the food. I love where we are. We're in the countryside, so it's a lot more rural than Durham. It's a lot of cows and tractors and people shooting guns. Maybe that's kind of similar to Eastern North Carolina in that way.
Given now that Bombadil is a transatlantic band, how has that experience been? Because you've done several tours in Europe as Bombadil. Did you tour before you moved in
Did.
Europe?
We
Yeah.
had, I was kind of in the transition. We kind of sold. I didn't have a. Yeah, we sold our house, and so I was kind of in transition for 2 years, where I was kind of crashing at somebody's house or my sister's place in Durham. My wife had already moved back, so I guess we did do. We had done tours in Europe before I moved, while I was transitioning, and after. Uh, yes, there was another big goal of Bombadil's. Just always, maybe every musician, or at least ours, was like, got to go to Europe and I don't know, do it. like Deep Purple in Tokyo, uh, just and so I'm so happy that dream came true. I don't know if you want to do it, Ryan, if that's a dream of yours also, or
It's a goal. It's a goal.
yeah,
I'd like to get there.
recommend it. It's amazing, but at the same time, it's exactly like touring in the States. You're just in some crappy
Yeah.
club and he shows up. So, and, but it's amazing also. So, um, yeah, it's yeah exactly the same, but very different. So.
Have you noticed any particular differences?
Yeah, the only differences are there's like super old cool buildings, cobblestone, and like really good espresso. But other than that, no mix. Soundboards are the same. Sound guys are the same. Um, it's the same for better and worse in all the best ways.
Do you feel like you're becoming a part of the music scene where you are, or do you still feel kind of like an outsider musically?
Very very slowly. I think even in Triangle, I always feel like an outsider. I never was someone that liked going to shows or I always had a hard time, me and Stuart, always calling ourselves musicians. I don't know why. I never liked that term. So I never felt like a. James is really good at that. In comparison, he loves just being kind of a social butterfly and being part of the scene and going out. So I've had trouble, yeah, being part of the scene. Or we're kind of far away also from the city to where I would see shows. But no, I've been slowly doing shows here. I did a show actually last week, kind of a house show and that was fun. So I'm slowly meeting people. But yeah, it's
And that was his Z Pocket, your solo.
yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, I like playing shows. So I'm trying to do as many shows as anybody will have. It's like I have a show at a wine bar next month. I'm excited about that. So
Ooh, nice. You get some free wine there.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah. So if you don't call your if you don't like considering yourself a musician, what do you have anything artistically that you identify with, or is it just more of like I'm a human and I have expression?
Maybe artist is better, but same thing. They always just felt presumptuous. No, is that the word I'm looking for? Too lofty or something. I don't. Yeah. Maybe just a human. Yeah, that somebody that plays music. Because I feel like there's so many other facets of my person besides being a musician. Or maybe I didn't identify with a lot of things that one thinks as a being. Because you always think of a musician, someone that sleeps in late or likes to just like drink or is like I don't. I feel like there's so many negative stereotypes of being a musician that I didn't associate with. Or also this idea that a musician is somebody has their head in the cloud. I don't know. I don't want. I'm not trying to hate on musicians either.
Yeah, no, do you feel like pretentious? Is that kind of
Yeah,
more?
what was the word? What's the difference between pretentious and presumptuous? Presumptuous is someone that's pretentious is presumptuous. Maybe. Are you good with English?
No.
Okay, me neither. Yeah, pretentious. Yeah, maybe it was like it felt too pretentious to say I'm a musician or I'm an artist. Because I think artist, okay, musician, I think Beethoven, or an artist, someone that's like a career for 30 years and has done something super compelling, not just kind of made like a 3-minute rock song in the key of C.
Yeah.
And
But at the same time, I mean, you picked a song and you mentioned the title of the song translated to English is "Die Singing," and you really you said you resonated with it. I guess unpack that a little bit if you don't mind. Like, why do you have that connection there too, or how does that come
yeah,
about?
and that's good. And I think a little bit sure for myself. I do like that. Yeah, music is super important to everything I do in my life, or I feel like it's where I go when I want to emotionally unpack myself or express something about myself. I've tried to have periods in my life where, like, okay, I'm going to see what happens if I don't do any music, and I find myself very unhappy. But I find myself attracted to, I think, songs from the '60s and '70s. There was a lot of that kind of over the top sappiness to lyrics. Like if you think of like the Four Tops or the stuff from Motown, where it's a lot of stuff's about love but sappy. So I kind of see that also in this song. From Esther Marisol. I don't think it's just a love song about. I should have looked up the lyrics a little bit better because I've forgotten them now exactly what they say. But yeah, just dying, expressing her love by singing. Of course, you're not obviously going to do that, but I like those kind of, yeah, sappy over the top lyrics. I don't, I
The sentiment of it's
can't,
music is this thing that you have in you, and it needs to come out, and that's, you know, you maybe not consider yourself a musician, but it doesn't, maybe it doesn't feel like it's just so much of a part of you in general that it feels more natural than that. Is that maybe a fair
so
assertion?
at least at this point now, yeah, it feels like just something I like doing, and or just need to like. If I go by the piano, I just gotta like play it for a second. But no, but not that I'm good. I can sit down like Chris Steele or something, and practice 8 hours a day. Um, although I would like to have that skill set or dedication, I can't do that either. So
I mean, still a very profound musician. I mean, Bombadil's been active for, man, I don't.
we don't even know since 2005 or 4 or 5.
Yeah, because I think we first, you when we did a college, like I think I first saw you in like 2007 or something like that. Y'all had been active for a while before that, so
Yeah, we've
it's
been
been a
around,
minute.
and it's always been a goal of James and I, as being the only two remaining members, that we I think the bands that we like the best are the ones that have these super long careers. I don't know anything from like the Grateful Dead or what is that band called? I feel like it's got a name in Spanish also that he likes a lot. Anyway, yeah, just the bands that have these long careers rather than like a band that puts out one album that breaks up because they get along or something.
I
That,
mean,
yeah, too easy.
yeah,
It's too easy to change band names, start over.
exactly. Well, and okay, so talk a little bit about Z Pocket. What makes a Z Pocket song a Z Pocket song versus bringing it to Bombadil or
Exactly the same. I think I started been writing songs for a long time, and just over the past even 5 or 10 years, I was just writing more songs than Bombadil could get to. Uh, I think at the beginning when there was four of us, we would write songs together. But as I guess just when Brian Stewart had left the band, they were also big songwriters, part of Bombadil. The songwriting style of the band changed, and so it ended up kind of being just me writing a lot of the songs, and that just didn't feel because at the beginning James wasn't really writing a lot, and so it didn't feel like a band anymore if it was just me writing. So I stopped submitting my own personal songs to the band, and so that any new Bombadil song would be a creation of James and mine. Or at the time we were playing with a guy named Stacy also. Yeah, I did. I think if you're going to be in a band, it should be something collaborative. Uh, and then just during the pandemic, I had lots of time, so just kept writing songs and yeah, I have a lot. I don't know. I could do 3 or 4 more Z Pocket records. I got to put them out. So
and you're performing as Z Pocket when you're
yeah,
like
yeah.
when
I
you're
had
playing this
the drummer.
upcoming wine bar gig.
Yeah, that's right. So I have a friend that I play with. He does drums and kind of sings with me. I'd like to find more musicians, but let's say it's slow to kind of find people. Uh, but so right now I'm playing some Z Pocket stuff and some Bombadil songs as well.
And then I saw the most recent uh, run that you had. You were doing, was it an interpretive dance element? What kind of inspired that collaboration there?
It's everything's nothing is planned. Everything is random. We the last couple of years we've been playing with Stewart again and a new guitarist named MK Rodenberg, who's also based in the Triangle, and we kind of went our separate ways. They didn't really want to tour anymore with the same rhythm that James and I were doing. And we had a fan reached out and said, "Hey, I want to do a project. I'm trying to get a grant from the North Carolina Arts. Uh, I want to dance and to you guys' music, make dance videos and dance." And we said, "Great, let's do something together because we need another musician for tour." And this person, Madison, she said yes, and it's been awesome. She doesn't know how to play instruments, and we don't know how to dance, so we taught her how to play, and she's been teaching us how to dance. Um, and so the tour this spring went great, and so now the goal is to do a record with her I was actually working on one of these songs right before you called me. We're still kind of working out the theme or our overall how we're going to put together this album. But she kind of wrote the text, the story for the album. Then James is going to write the lyrics, and then I'll write the music. And then she will compose dances, and then we'll kind of also write the songs to her dances. So we'll have this kind of whole album that's choreographed.
Wow.
I don't know more than that, but something along those lines.
Is that how you find yourself going into in the past going into a record is kind of a conceptualization of an idea and just kind of seeing what comes into it, or is it more traditionally more is this something completely a completely different approach to how you're going into a
I would
record?
say more completely different. Early Bumble records were just like, we have no idea what we're doing. We have these 5 songs, or yeah, I mean, for like Tar Pits and Canyonlands, everyone always thinks, oh, you guys really planned this out, a big concept record. Yeah, definitely not at all. It was just all thrown together at the last minute in the most random way. More recent records, yeah, James and I have been having a great time digging into the idea of concept and theme. Is much more rewarding, of course, having kind of goals or ideas to follow and limits and boxes to put yourself in has been much more interesting for us creatively. So this is just one more iteration further, and maybe even more extreme than we had done for the previous few records. So it's no great.
Oh, that's exciting. Any do you have a timeline, or is it kind of when it happens, it
Well,
happens?
supposedly we have to get it out before the next European tour, which is next fall. So we have a year, but usually records need to come out like a few months. It takes a long time to get it out on vinyl or put it up on Spotify. So I don't know, 6 to 9 months. But
Fair, 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 fair.
yeah,
Awesome. Is there anything that you want to touch on? Anything that you wanted to talk about or promote, or any philosophical threads that you want to explore?
yeah, those are all great questions. Let me think. Um, no, yeah, if I'm not doing music, most of the other time I'm just spending time in the garden. If I've been planning on weird stuff, I,
What are you planning? Are you a flower or a produce or both?
I used to be exclusively produce. I thought flowers were stupid, but now I've been really getting into flowers. So, but still mostly produce. I have black chickpeas from Sicily that I
Ooh,
planted.
whoa!
I mean,
What a
what's
is
that?
there a difference in flavor
I
of
don't know
black
because
chickpeas?
I got them from this heirloom like Italian seed bank. So we'll see. Uh, and then where I live in France is really close to like southern like Mediterranean France, but I'm kind of still in the mountains, so I have a much more temperate climate than North Carolina. So I have a lot of citrus. Uh, I have like a Japanese yuzu. I have another early ripening kind of mandarin. I have an Australian citrus. And anyway, so I've just been experimenting with a lot of hardy citrus that can withstand the mild Alp winters that we have here. Um, Other than that, Sichuan. I have a Sichuan pepper plant. I've been excited about it. There's so many cool things you can grow, and I also have a lot of artichoke. I have. I'm just looking out. I keep looking out the window to see if it'll spark my brain on what I have out there. I have a tea plant. Um, anyway, so that's what I think about a lot. I have
That's
kiwi.
man, you got some great planting
You
choices.
gotta come. Yeah, if you decide you want to come to Europe, you should come.
Yeah. So where about what's the
Middle
closest
of
like
nowhere.
large?
That's not really true. We're in between Lyon and Grenoble, are the two biggest cities. So southeast, kind of 2 hours from both Switzerland and Italy.
Oh, lovely.
Yep, in the Alps. So yeah, it's very pretty.
Do you feel like do you feel at home in your garden?
I feel at home in the garden. I thought you were going to ask, and I realized just to come full circle about where I feel at home at. And I also feel at home in France. I had this feeling for the first time when I went back to the U.S. for a tour this spring. Is that even though I'm really bad at French, because I'm here most of the year, I speak French most of the year. So I felt uncomfortable speaking English and not. I mean, North Carolina will always be home, but I felt, uh, yeah, I have a few French friends that actually live in the Triangle, so I was happy when I finally got to see them and speak French again, even though I was in North Carolina. Just it's funny how your brain can adapt to anything, and so obviously I've adapted to France and feel more at home here.
Lovely. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
it is nice to feel where we're at ease in a place.
I've talked to so many European musicians throughout doing this and various other things. I guess it seems like there's a lot of state financing. So for German musicians, like they get some local and national. A lot of the Nordic countries have even more uh, financial backing for musicians. Is that something that you see in France, or that you're able to see? Are you able to see that as a kind of an expat?
I don't think it's the same as Germany and the Nordic countries. I don't know it's as supported to the same level. There does exist in France, though, this, they call it a statute, musician statute, where, which I think is great, if you play a certain amount of shows per year, I don't know, it's maybe 40 shows, 40 to 60, 40, I don't know, somewhere 40 to 60, and you got to make, I don't know, maybe 250 just yourself personally per show. I don't know how much it is. It's 250 to 400. Then you get health insurance. You get a stipend also when you're not doing shows. Because most of the shows in France occurred during the kind of spring, summer festival time. There's not really a lot going on in November, December. Um, and so if you do that for a whole year, then the next year you're have this guaranteed salary uh,
Wow.
during your off season. So, so in some ways that's great. I have a friend, the drummer friend that I play with. He has that, and he says it's been awesome. I mean, it's taken him a long time. He's 50 now, and he says it's only really the last 3 or 4 years where he's been able to work up uh, to that level. But it's just given a lot more time to spend time doing what musicians should be doing. Creating art. Because before that, he had to teach on the side, and so. I'm not doing 40 shows in France, and that's one of the drawbacks. I think because the shows have to be more legit here. There's plenty of under the table stuff, but basically everything in the U.S. I mean, if somebody wants to pay you $50 a show and you want to take it, you can. Here, if the bar only wants to pay you $50, they can, and you can't accept that. But if the bar gets controlled by the musician police, they will have to pay a hefty fine because they're not paying you minimum wage. And so, for example, my friend also, he can't play those under the table shows because everybody has to pay taxes. All shows have to be declared, I guess. I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's anyway, because the market's slightly more regulated, there's less kind of small bands playing out of the garages because a lot of venues don't want to pay the minimum wage for a musician. Because, of course, if you're a nobody band, you can't bring in 100 people to cover the ticket costs. But but at the same time, no. I mean, I still do shows that are not. But I guess but that's the other thing. You can do those shows if you don't care about the musician getting this musician statute, something like that. It's I'm throwing a lot at you that I don't understand myself also completely because
It's more of a curiosity, because I'm curious to which degree the government support the artistic side of human life, and so getting different. I mean, clearly there's in the States,
no.
not really anything.
But
But
I can't say it's better or worse. It's just different.
yeah, sure, yeah.
But no, I'm happy. I find there's clubs here and you can find shows here, and whatever, you get paid $100 and a couple beers, and so it's the same, or €100, I guess. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Same thing,
that's
different
it's
place.
exactly the
Yep.
same over here, except there's just cool churches and old buildings.
Yeah. Yeah. You big fan of architecture?
Um, I think I just like the medieval European buildings. I don't know. No, I mean, yeah, no, I guess any building. No, I don't like any building it's cool. It could be new or old. Am I a fan of architecture? Maybe just more a fan of beauty and like weird stuff. So yeah, that includes buildings.
Fan of beauty. I get fan of beauty and weird stuff. I dig that. That's a perfect answer.
I think yeah. It could be Europe's got just weird things over here.
Well, I'm so glad that you seem to have found home in France, and I look forward to. I need to make it out to a Bombadil show or a Z Pocket show, either or, the next time that you're playing in the area. Thank you so much for chatting with me on
You're
this
welcome.
episode, and yeah, it's great catching up with you.
Thank you, Ron.
Massive thanks to Daniel for chatting with me for this episode. If you're tuning in on the day the show is released and you're on the East Coast, go check out a Bombadil show this week. They'll be in Maryland tomorrow, September 18th, followed by shows in Norfolk and Richmond, Virginia, and finally Sanford, North Carolina on Saturday, September 21st, as a part of the Free Carolina Indie Fest. And as promised, here is a Z Pocket track from this year's Music for a New World titled I Want to Kick It. Enjoy.
1, 2, 3, 4. Wanna kick it. Wanna kick it like we used to. Wanna be there. Wanna be there like we used to. We're gonna take them all down. I wanna show them. I wanna show them how we're tight like that. I wanna show him I still got your back. We're gonna take him
Thank you for listening to Let's Make a Mixtape. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and rate this show within your preferred podcasting service to help feed the algorithm gods and help the show get discovered by other fellow music nerds. This labor of love is recorded and edited by yours truly, and the intro and transition music was written and recorded by Scotty Sawash. Tune in next week when I will be joined by Rudy Verbist of the Belgian band Gnome.